Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30 in the morning here in beautiful Portugal. I am just starting on my fourth day of a clinic, my final day of the European tour, and it's been a good one. It's been a really good one. I found that I am learning a lot. I'm having great conversations. The horses are teaching me a lot, and I'm excited. I'm excited to go home and take everything that I've learned and bring it to my own herd. So today I have a question for everyone. And this is a little something for you to think about. Maybe you can drop your ideas in the comments if you have them. I've been teaching something called the 80-20 game for quite a while. And I think it needs a new name. And I'm not really sure what the name is. So I'm just throwing it out there for you guys. The 80-20 principle is really going to stay consistent, I believe. We want to do about 80% of the things with our horses that our horses find easy. And then somewhere between 10 and 20% of our activities with our horse really need to push the boundaries a little bit. And that's something that's been a great topic of conversation here in Portugal, is what is a challenge? What constitutes a challenge? Is there room for a challenge to be big or small? Is there room for a challenge to be simply as it was without improvement, or does a challenge need to be improved upon? I think this is all really good conversation to have. And really, the horse is the only one that can answer. So the horse is the only one that can tell us if this is too easy or too difficult. If something is too easy, what happens is the horse starts creating difficulties. If something is too difficult, what happens is the horse doesn't want to play and they leave. When we work in freedom, they will leave if they think things are too difficult. And that's the beauty of freedom, is that they are not going to continue to participate in something they think is too difficult. So this is the question, is what do we call the game where we explore what is reasonable for each horse? What is easy enough for them? What is challenging for them? How much challenge do we give them so that they're really interested and engaged in the relationship and they don't feel like they need to create problems? How easy do we make it? How hard do we make it? The general idea will remain the same, is that 80% of our interactions should feel easy to the horse and the human. About 20% of the interactions should feel a little bit challenging. But what does that look like? So 80-20 game, the name may stick, but maybe there's a need for another name here, because it's really all about exploring what works for each partnership. So each group, each horse-human relationship, each horse-horse relationship, each human-human relationship, I think needs a little bit of a balance between challenge and easy. How do we organize that so that it's good for everybody? So let me give you some examples. When we talk about challenging, you have several versions of challenging. So the most obvious version is when you do an action the horse doesn't like, they're going to either push into you or pull away from you. That makes it really clear it was a challenge. And then you got to decide what you do about it. So I always tell people, if you can do it again and make it better, do it again. If you need to cut the challenge in half to make it better, do that. If you need to cut it in half again, do that. This can get a little bit confusing because people feel like, oh, I've done so many repetitions. Am I getting out of balance with the 80-20 idea? And that's going to vary with different horses. Some will let you do a lot of repetitions because they feel you are learning and improving with every variation. Other horses will not let you do a lot of repetitions. And the 80-20 game is really about experimenting and figuring out, what will this horse happily do with me? Will they really let me work on something difficult? Or do I need to just touch on the subject and then go back to easy things so that they are willing to continue this conversation? the 80-20 game is not a hard set of rules. X amount of times do this, X amount of times do that. It is a general guideline of play with this so the horse can show you what they like and how they like it and how they're willing to push their growth edge. Now, because we need structure as humans, I have set up this idea that you need 8 repetitions of something easy before you tried something difficult, whether it's very, very simple difficult or whether it's very complicated difficult. It doesn't really matter. So this means that an action is one thing you do with your horse, and that action should lead to curiosity. And then the next thing that happens is a passive moment where you get to just bask in that enjoyment of the curiosity that happened. So the curiosity is the use of the senses, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the sense of feeling, something that's good enough to be in harmony afterwards. And then you rest on that. And you do that 4 times in a row. Now, this started with the 80-20 principle and the idea that 4 easy rests go along with 4 activities that cause curiosity, and that's 8 interactions altogether. And that's kind of how I discovered it and I developed it. I've found that I've experimented a lot since then. I've experimented with less, I've experimented with more, and that seems to be a pretty good number for most horses and most people. So we've kept it. But it can be complicated to count and keep track of the numbers. And so I've really simplified it down to just 4 easy rests where you did easy things with your horse. And then we can think about a challenge. Now, the challenge can be very, very simple, which is, let's say I touch the horse somewhere they don't like. Now, there's a whole range of responses they could give me. If they politely ignored the fact that I'm touching them, some people already think that's a challenge. And they're going to go right back to easy things because they're like, that was my one challenge to all of my easy things. Some people are going to do it twice. They're like, I can touch them on the top of their leg and they politely ignore me. I can touch them on their knee and they again politely ignore me. And then I really need to go back to things where they don't ignore me. That is probably the softest, most gentle idea of what a challenge is. And for some people that works really well. But here is where it gets interesting. I travel around the world. I look at hundreds and hundreds of horses and hundreds of people, and I see a pattern here. And the pattern is people who stay under threshold. And what I mean by under threshold is when you're under threshold, your horse doesn't push against you and they don't pull away from you. The threshold of discomfort is when the horse shows an obvious sign, pushing against you or pulling away from you. When they show that obvious sign, this is a signal that something is too hard for them. And from there, we can use repetitions to show them we understand. If that's too hard, what if I do it a little differently? If that's too hard, what if I cut it in half? How do we work together so that it's not too hard for you? This is where it gets more complex. Some people stay under threshold. They don't want it to be complex. They want it to be very beautiful and simple. And I honor that. I absolutely honor that. If it's getting better, keep doing it. But what I find is if you always stay under threshold, your horse will in general be a more difficult horse for other people. So this does not mean when the halter's on. When the halter's on, that's a whole different set of training. I mean, in freedom, you tend to create a one-person horse that interacts really, really well with you, but not so well with others. Because it is the going over threshold and the repairing of that relationship that gives the horse a sense of confidence with all the things they don't know in life, all the people they don't know, all the experiences they've never had before. Can life be broken and fixed, ruptured and repaired? So to some extent, this idea that we go over threshold and then we repair it is, for me, what a challenge is. I'm not sure it's really a challenge if we stay under that threshold. But I'm going to honor that some people do. So some people say, you know what, Elsa, if I do something that my horse really tries hard to ignore, that's hard enough. That's already a challenge. And you know what? I think your horse is going to love you for that attitude. And I'm even going to try and put on that attitude some of my sessions, or in some moments of my sessions, where I try and be like that person that really wants to work under threshold. It's a beautiful way to forge a bond and a relationship. I'm also going to honor that sometimes it's really good to go over threshold and then repair it. And so that's what I've been teaching a little bit more in my clinics, is this ability to go over threshold and repair it. In the repairs, this is where people feel like it shouldn't be called the 80-20 game anymore, because some horses will let you work on repairing a mistake again and again and again and again and again, and it just keeps getting better. But it doesn't feel easy. So in the working on the repair, you push them over threshold, they either threatened you or they pulled away or they pushed into you. In the repair, we might walk around, come reapproach, try it again better. And then we walk around and we say, I'm sure I can do it better, so we try it again. If you can try it again 50 times and it gets better with every time you come try it again, I think that's great. The only rules in this game is it getting better? If it's getting better, keep doing it. And it doesn't feel like the 80-20 game anymore, because all of those repairs or all of those repetitions feel like more than 20% of the relationship. And that's where maybe the name 80-20 isn't really fitting anymore, because the 80-20 game is the starting place. It's how do we get to know our horse well enough to know, is it okay to go over threshold? How long does it take to repair it? How many repetitions are we allowed to do as we repair something that broke? And that's going to be individual to every horse. Every horse is going to be a little bit different. Every relationship is going to be a little bit different. And then also every environment is going to be a little bit different. When you have a higher stress environment, you're going to have to alter how many repetitions of repair you do with a horse after you break something. So those are my thoughts about what is a challenge. The challenge is something that's hard for the horse to do, and then you have to balance it with things that are easy for the horse to do. What constitutes a challenge, what is a challenge, is going to vary from horse to horse. One horse thinks you should never ever do anything that makes them push or pull, and it's very, very difficult to repair that or come back from it. That, in my mind, is a really good reason to do it and strengthen that skill. Another horse will let you break things and fix them all day long, and they may be very good at it. And that might be a really good reason to stay under threshold. That's already something they're good at. They perhaps don't have to practice it so much. As humans with horses, we have a tendency to go in the direction they're already good, because that feels very satisfying. But as a really good friend, as a really good partner, perhaps we need to think about the quality of things that they're not good at. So for some horses, breaking things and fixing them they're not good at, we want to make that of very high quality. When we break something, how well can we fix it? And that might mean a lot more repetitions of effort to fix it than you might expect. So if I ask the horse to back up and they push forward instead, I'm going to go, okay, that didn't work. Can I do it with two hands instead of one hand? Can I position my body differently? Can I talk to them while I do it? Can I set them up for success better? How do I fix it as quickly as possible? And then ask myself, if I do it again, would it be better? After that backup step, I want to see some sensory engagement. I don't want them to do it like a robot. I want them to feel something after they do it. How quickly can they feel something after they do the backup? If I think it'll be better if I do it again, I should do it again. This ability to repair, and repair with really good quality, is vital for some horses. Is it still within the 80-20 principle? You kind of get to decide, horse by horse, case by case. Depends. It always depends. Zoe says, I feel like the over threshold and repair moment in incremental stages is the most beautiful way to progress. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Zoe. It's the question of what is incremental phases. So there's a huge disagreement with that with different people. What is too much? What is too little? And all I would say is let's keep talking about it. Let's keep experimenting with it, because I really think that every training method should be adjusted to the horse, to the human, and to the situation you're in. Do we keep the basic idea of the 80-20 principle? 80% easy interactions, 20% difficult interactions? Absolutely. What does that look like for each horse? That's really fun to explore, in my opinion. Mary says, oh, this worked beautifully when I needed to give my horse eye drops. Yeah, exactly. So we all have difficult things that we end up doing that maybe are over thresholds. And then we take that idea of being over threshold and we go, how do we repair what we've broken? Or how do we just change it so it doesn't go over threshold? I love this question. I hope this question goes on forever as we continue, finding better ways to work with horses. I do not think I'm at the pinnacle of my career in terms of understanding. I'm just getting started. I am just figuring out how this all works. I think that I am in a really good position where I get to work with a lot of different horses in freedom, where they have the capability of walking away from me. And what I find is that when I do something that maybe has too many repetitions to fix, they just get a little restless. And when they get restless, they don't want to stand still anymore. And I can't find harmony anymore. And I get a really clear indication when I go to do my easy interactions that what was easy wasn't easy anymore. And I go, oh, wow, okay, we pushed you there. I maybe didn't know it, but now I do. Because everything that used to be easy isn't easy anymore. And we've got a little bit of extra repair to do. Maybe it's going to take me a little longer to get to the place where I can have 4 easy rests after 4 good sensory uses. So it is a really fun puzzle. I agree, Zoe. And I'm just going to encourage all of you guys to take it in the spirit of the experiment. When I teach my clinics, I'm going to teach a framework that's really, really worked for me to help figure out each horse. And that's going to spark some debates. It's going to spark some conversations. People are going to help me figure out how to explain it better. I promise you, give me a year, I'll be able to explain it much better than I can now. But the reason for that is because of all of you guys. You guys ask me the right questions. You guys give me the right suggestions. You guys help me think about this. And so while the horses really help me work on it and practice it, all of my human friends, that's all of you guys help me put the right words to it. So if you have any thoughts about this idea of the 80-20 game and using it as an exploratory process, how do we figure out each horse and what might be best for them to help them become the best version of themselves? Is there a name for that game? Is it still the 80-20 game, or is there a better name for exploring this process of what is a challenge for each horse? What is a reasonable challenge for each human? And what are the benefits of breaking and fixing it a little bit more so they build more resilience versus staying under threshold so they feel like they really have a friend that understands them. And that one friend that really understands them makes their whole life better. Hopefully it's both. But that's my thoughts today. Tea time in Portugal. It's beautiful here. I will be back next year. So if you guys want to meet me in Portugal, we have a great place here where we get to do a lot of work with herds. This is really fun. My next clinic coming out the end of October will be in Georgia in the US. We were going to get to work with herds of Mustangs there, and I'm very excited about this. Most clinics I do, we work one-on-one with individuals' horses, one at a time throughout the day. I really feel like the herd work is some of the best way to learn this, but not every environment is a good environment for us to learn from herds. So I would encourage you guys, come to a clinic if you have time, but if you can make it to a clinic where we actually have herds to work with, the learning is really, really good. Thank you guys for joining me for tea time. I am home next week, so I will be with my boys back on San Juan Island and talking to you from the herd there next Tuesday. Have a wonderful day, you guys, wherever you are in the world, and let me know if you have any ideas of what I call this game, where we explore what it is to do a challenge and to recover when we go over threshold with different horses in different environments. Thanks for thinking about it with me, guys. Have a great day.